Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome on behalf of PSTV. A big warm welcome to each one of you on behalf of PSTV. I'm your Mohini. I am your host for today, Mohini, and I welcome each one of you to this amazing, spooky episode at PSTV, guys. Yes, spooky because monsters, ghosts, phantoms, vampires, zombies, and shadows, spirits, and a lot more. This is what our episode today comprises of, guys. So, welcome to the supernatural and paranormal episode theme podcast on behalf of PSTV, guys. So, and before we dive right in and we take the plunge, we start our episode, I want to know from each one of you, how is everybody doing, guys? How's the week been? How are things at your end? So come on, quickly, like a quick check in, like we always do with my marvelous audience here. Okay, all right, and everybody has started to type in. I'm so glad that there are so many of you today here. I can see a lot of new people on the block also today, a lot of new kids here and there. Thank you for joining us. All right, and I get a thumbs up, I get high fives, I get loves, I get fantastic, I get fascinating, of course, fascinating, definitely. Wow, guys, so glad to know that everybody's been doing fine, everybody's been doing great. And you know what? We are in store for this amazing, fascinating episode today. It's a spooky episode for sure, and it's definitely for all the children out here who are always interested in these spooky stories and the scary stories and who want to go ahead with a supernatural and paranormal podcast. All right. So, all my podcasters in the making, just stay tuned to this episode. All right, so moving ahead. Well, you and I are definitely on this gorgeous journey, on this stunning journey, wherein we are understanding a lot about the field of podcasting, guys. Yes? Okay. And what's happening? What's happening on the block? What do we have in store for you today? And what have I planned for each one of you today? So definitely we are gonna start with Break the Ice, which is a favorite with everybody by now. And I think everybody knows the format of the show. You're kind of comfortable that we always kind of start with Break the Ice, yeah? All right, moving ahead, we'll have today's agenda wherein I will be discussing about what we're going to be taking up. Although I've given you a glimpse into what the episode is, but I will definitely be taking that up in details. All right. Moving ahead, we would have how to write a scary story. Now, this is in line with your podcast because, of course, if you're going ahead with a scary theme, a spooky theme podcast, you would definitely have to write something. You would definitely have to have a script in place before you go ahead and record that podcast of yours. So, I will be giving you tips on how to go about writing a scary story. All right. So that you can work on your podcast accordingly. Then, of course, after the scary story, we will have a fun activity, like always. And I will be giving you some horror theme podcasts. Yes, guys, I will be coming out with some horror theme podcast, which is, of course, age appropriate and for all my kids out here so that you can tune in and listen to these theme podcasts and get a bit of an idea if, you're interested in this genre of podcasting. All right. And again, post we're done with that, we will do a quick recap of the learnings for sure and ending the session with fun things for homework. Yes. All right, guys, let's just start the episode now. So, brace yourselves because it's time for Break the Ice. Everybody out here, break the ice. Question number one. Now, if you had to describe how you're feeling right now as a weather pattern, what's your forecast? So come on, tell me. If you had to describe how you're feeling right now as a weather pattern, what would be your podcast? So I think I'd say sunshine and rainbows. Yeah, with all my lovely children out here. For me, it definitely has to be that way with all your smiles, and I get smileys and hearts for that. Thank you, guys. Definitely. So tell me, if you had to describe how you're feeling in terms of a weather pattern, what would your forecast be? So all the weather forecasters are typing, I can see. Stormy. Okay, so you're like waiting. Dhruv says he's just waiting for the spooky podcast to start, and okay, there's windy, there's foggy, all right. There's sunny, there's unpredictable. Definitely, this theme is unpredictable, all right. Okay, troublesome. My God. Okay, then there's thundering out there, sunshine there, okay, rainbows definitely, and I can do anything, says Justin. Wow, Justin, I like that lovely thought, the rainbow and the sunshine. Okay, then there's fog and clouds for some of you. Okay, windy, windy and wild. Okay, all right. My God, such interesting weather patterns I can see in my chat box today. So for all of you who feel it's foggy out there, trust me, it'll get sunny soon. All right, trust the process, guys. Okay, thank you for these responses. Let's move on to the next question now. The next question is, if you could pick up a new skill in an instant, okay, what would it be? So, like instantly, if I tell you that you can just pick up a new skill, what would it be, guys? So, think about this one and type in your answers quickly in the chat box. I am waiting, everybody. Quickly, quickly, come on. All right, so I'm getting being able to think, learn. Okay, think and learn quickly. All right, okay. Considering the schools have reopened and everybody's back in place. All right. So yeah, again, think, learn. Okay, process, memorize. Yeah, more or less of those answers. Okay. Wow, and Leo is saying that run faster than the light. I like that. He wants to pick up that new skill of running faster than the light as well. Okay. Daniel says skill to convince, and he wants to convince his parents basically. All right. Okay. For everything basically. All right. Good, Daniel. That's a good thought. Okay. Driving a car. Aren't you a little young for that? Okay. So maybe you'll have to wait a little more, yeah, Dhruv? Okay. So then there's swimming there, there's podcasting. Yes, podcasting. Yes, why not? I mean, I'm getting like 4 or 5 of you have written podcasting also. So of course, you're at the right place. You are learning about a lot about podcasting, definitely, guys. Okay. Painting, wow, lovely artist in the making. Okay. And there's learning football. My God, so many things that you guys want to learn. Huh? It's good. It's good. And learning is a process, guys. It has to be a lifelong process for everybody. So glad that there's so many skills that all of you want to learn. I really hope that you can learn these skills and pick up on these skills quickly. Okay, so moving ahead, and thank you for those answers, guys. Moving ahead to the next question. Let's see. Who has made a positive difference in your life recently? So recently, there are a lot of people around us who have a lot of positive impact in our lives, who really influence the way we think, the way we feel, and everything around us. Basically, they just they just help us with the energy levels around us, and there's so much positivity that they bring about in our lives. It could be a person, it could be a book, it could be a movie, it could be anything, basically. All right. So now you have to tell me who has made a positive difference in your life recently. Well, if I had to answer this, I would definitely say it would be my child, because I think he's made a positive difference in the sense that I feel I've become more patient, okay, and I've started to enjoy the little things in life. You know how a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old really enjoys the smallest of things, tiniest of things, and you just have a good time. So yes, definitely. What are your thoughts, guys? Come on, I can see a lot of answers. I see my mom, definitely moms. Okay, dad, then wow. And Ria is saying the PSTV shows. Wow, Ria, thank you for that love. Okay, and she says your show, she says PSTV shows. There are a lot of you. Daniel has written PSTV shows. Justin is writing PSTV shows. I'm so glad, and this is the reason, guys, we are bringing up these live sessions for all of you, to be able to help you and to add value to each one of you. Yeah, and I'm so glad that it's working for all my children out here. Thank you. Thank you for all that love. Thank you. Okay, so then there's sibling, there's brother, there's again mom, dad. All right, all right. Wow, and there's some names of books also. The Power of Positive Thinking. That's a great book. Okay, Think and Grow Rich. I like that book too. I've read it. It's an amazing book, very inspiring book, and I'm glad to know that you guys are also reading motivational and inspirational books. Huh? Good guys, keep it up, all of you. Ignited minds, definitely. All these lovely books, they really help you, and they can definitely make a positive difference in your lives for sure. So keep at it, guys. Good answers. Okay, moving ahead. What's one country you would love to visit and why? So there are a lot of countries that we want to go to, a lot of countries that we want to visit. So come on, tell me, what is your choice? The country that you want to go, you want to visit. What's your choice, guys? Okay, come on, any choices? Okay, for me, it's gonna be for sure. It's gonna be Switzerland. You know, the unparalleled landscapes out there in Switzerland, and of course, chocolates. Yes, okay. So Switzerland is definitely one country that I would love to visit. I've already been there once, but kind of not gotten enough of that place. So definitely one country that I'd love to visit, and for the unparalleled landscapes. Okay, and I'm getting Jordan, the Dead Sea. All right, Philippines is there. My God, snorkeling amongst colorful corals. My God. Okay, Rohan wants to do that. There's Indonesia. Okay, for the islands and dolphin watching, says Jacob. All right. Then there's Turkey. Turkey is yeah, he says, okay, hot air balloons. All right. Okay. Austria. Austria says Disha because of the quaint cafes and cobble streets. Yeah, Disha? Okay, she's saying charming country. It is a charming country. Yes, it is a charming country. Okay. Then South Africa is there on my list. Okay, I think it's of course for the wildlife, safari. Yeah, Cape Town. Okay. Then there's Greece is another gorgeous place. My God, such lovely places in my chat box today. Huh? Okay, the Mediterranean cuisine in Greece. Okay, that's what I get, and it is a gorgeous place. Spain, the La Tomatino Festival. Yes. Okay. All right. Australia for the Opera House. Okay, lovely guys. I mean, such amazing. You guys are really well aware of all these places, is it? Okay. India for the kind of diversity that you get to see here in the warmth in the country. All right. USA, again, another lovely place. Okay. So a lot of places that I can see. Wow, great guys. Thank you for all those responses and keep them coming, like I always say. So the next one is, what's something people don't know about you? So come on, something like a secret, and I promise I'll not read out names here so that people still don't know this about you. So you can tell me your secrets, all right? So what's something people don't know about you guys? So anything? Well, for me, people don't know that chocolates are my life. Okay, I can't do without chocolates, guys. Okay, so it's funny, but even when I'm on a diet, chocolates have to be a part of my diet. All right, so chocolates are my life. I can't do without chocolates, and people don't know this, and I've given it out on PSTV today. Okay, so now there's somebody who says obsessed with cleaning. I think it's a good thing to be obsessed with cleaning. Why not? Okay, hate mathematics. All right, okay. uh Food gives me happiness. Food gives a lot of us happiness. Yeah, okay, so all food is good. Okay, now I have a bad memory. Oh my god, I can relate to that bad memory. Okay, I don't like milk. All right, some of you don't like milk. Okay, I would. All right, so somebody's written. I'm not taking the name, but somebody's written that as a kid I would never play with the toys. I would just play with the boxes. So I've heard this with other kids also. Okay, so a lot of kids do this. Okay, they don't play with the toys. They play with the boxes. That's what really attracts them somehow. I hate losing. I know that everybody hates losing. But guys, it's okay. All right. It's okay to lose. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to lose sometimes because, life is such that there will be some losers, there will be some winners. We can't always win. Okay. So we have to prep up. We have to try our best, give it our best shot, and just leave the rest. Just relax. Okay. All right. Okay. And then somebody says, I repeatedly sing a song that I've heard like in the last evening, so I can relate to that, definitely that one also. Okay, so a lot of things that people don't know about the kids here, but now I know. Okay. All right, thank you for sharing that, all my lovely kids here. So the break the ice is done, the icebreakers are through with, and now we are proceeding to today's agenda. We're going to be discussing about how to write a scary story. I mentioned this that I will be taking this up because as podcasters who want to go ahead with this kind of a genre, who want to go ahead with a scary podcast, a scary theme podcast, okay, you have to know how to put together a scary story as well. So now, children's stories have always contained certain aspects of horror, guys. Many old fairy tales, for example, contain supernatural elements. Children tend to respond well to scary stories, learning moral lessons through metaphors involving ghosts and monsters. So, scary stories are something that we're all attracted to, right? So, that is something that has been very famous among kids. And of course, the first step to writing your scary story is the pre-writing, guys. Okay, the pre-writing. The first pointer here is explore fear. Now, scary stories are meant to provoke feelings of fear, guys. Okay, in order to successfully craft a scary story, you need to learn about the kinds of topics that tend to provoke fear. So you have to make a list of all the topics that kind of provoke fear. All right, and scary stories, spooky stories, they're meant to provoke feelings of fear. Okay, so please try and do this. Explore fear, explore the things that create fear. Okay, what is it that is going to create fear? Okay, and there's a thing with fear. We all are fascinated with fear, guys, usually. Okay, everybody. Moving ahead, the unknown is perhaps the scariest topic of all. Yeah, people do not know what comes after that. We don't know what comes after that, and so death is frightening. It is frightening because it's unknown. All right, it's a territory that we don't know anything about. Yeah, so if the source of a noise cannot be identified, if you hear a particular noise wherein you can't identify the source, obviously that noise becomes scary. It can provoke fear. Okay, playing with people's fear of the unknown and the unknowable, the unknown and the unknowable, guys, okay, get this correct, can be an effective means to tell a horror story. All right, so when you play with the unknown and the unknowable, it is an effective means to tell a horror story. So ensure that when you're putting together that script for your podcast and when you're writing that for your podcast, try and explore the unknown territory, guys. Okay, all right, so moving ahead. Withholding information can be an effective means to write a horror story. Definitely, if you don't have to give out, because we've started with the mystery theme, and that's why we've come up to this horror, the scary theme this time. And of course, if you withhold information, if you keep back information, it can be an effective way of writing a scary story. All right, sometimes leaving out precise explanations for certain mysteries can be more satisfying than a fully explained ending. It's a mystery, guys, okay, and it's a scary mystery. So, of course, you don't have to give it all out. You have to keep the information to your own self, and you have to create the suspense, you have to create the scare, all right? And try to leave something to the imagination when crafting your scary story, all right? So let your audiences think, let them imagine, let them just think, and and go to any extent with their thought. Give them that wing, that they can imagine and they can think of things. All right, don't give it out completely, because at the end of the day it is a mystery. Okay, so withhold information. All right, now think of a topic, guys. Now, scary stories tackle a variety of topics and ideas. Now, choose a topic that you feel is appropriate for your story. There can be lots of topics, but definitely pick up a topic that you feel is appropriate for your own stories. Now, there are stories about monsters. They're also popular among children. Okay, monsters from folklore, like witches, ogres, are often portrayed as posing some threat to a person or community and requiring defeat. Okay. The legend of Talipor basically would also be an example. The story is about a hunter who somehow cuts off the tail of a mysterious creature in the wood, and only to be stalked by the creatures each night with demands the tail to be returned. Okay, so stories, of course, can be about monsters, it can be about witches, it can be about a lot of things. All right, so just choose the topic that you want to go ahead with. Okay, moving on, again, stories about murder. Okay, they are also sometimes popular. An example would be the infamous campfire legend. I think if you've heard this, the hook. Okay, in which sightings of a serial murderer who kills victims with his hooked hands are reported in a given area. Okay, a couple in a group of friends are sitting alone in a car, and one of the gang says that they hear something, prompting them to drive away. All right. Later, what happens is that a hook is found hanging off the car's bumper, and sub subjects can actually be very frightening. Okay, and of course, if you're trying to go ahead and building up a story about murder, and you're also putting in a lot of mystery there, you're putting in a lot of suspense, and you're adding a scare, it has to be more appropriate for the older children and not for the younger crowd. So ensure that, okay, in case your target audience is the older children, you can go ahead with that. Okay. Then moving to the next one, again, stories about paranormal activity. They're popular for children, scary stories, and such tales usually involve stories of ghosts, demons, and other worldly, specters. Basically, such stories are often told around a campfire. An example would be the legend of Bloody Mary, which is a story in which you can summon the spirit of an angry ghost by saying Bloody Mary three times, okay, while looking into the mirror. So that was the story plot. But that's just like another story about paranormal activity, guys. All right. So about murder, about paranormal activity, you can choose your topic. Moving on, everyone, read a variety of scary stories. Okay, so the if you're interested in this genre, I'm sure that a lot of you have already gone through a lot of scary stories, because that's probably the reason that you're interested to go ahead and do a podcast about scary stories. All right. So again, read a variety of scary stories, guys, and the best way to brainstorm ideas for your own story is to read many examples. Okay, browse through scary stories written for if your audience is a kid, or if it's somebody else, and browse for stories that are written for your particular audience. Okay, and will give you a sense of language, content, and of course length. All right. Then how long should your story be? Then you can decide on your episode length, and so on. So read a variety of scary stories. Okay, moving ahead, many fairy tales, they contain very scary aspects. Now, if you've heard Hansel and Gretel, how many of you have heard Hansel and Gretel? Come on, tell me. Right in the chat box. It's a very famous fairy tale, and I'm sure a lot of you have. All right, so I get thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, so I think most of you are aware of that story. All right. Now, for example, the witch nearly cooks and eats the protagonist. Okay, that story, if you remember. Okay, the chocolate house and the witch there. Now, reading a volume of fairy tales aimed at a younger audience can give you a sense of how to balance horror with age appropriate content. So again, you can get a good sense of how can you balance horror if you are aiming at the younger audiences from your podcast. If your audience is the kids for whom you're developing the podcast, then you have to obviously go through some of the fairy tales also, so that it is obviously appropriate, kid appropriate. Don't scare the other kids too much, okay, obviously, because you wouldn't like to be scared too much. And so keep it age appropriate, guys. Okay, now definitely reading a variety of scary stories is going to help you. Moving ahead, now ask your librarians and bookstore workers for recommendations on different scary stories. They can definitely help you out with this, and they will obviously have a good sense of whatever's best selling, and then you can go through it and get a good idea of how to build a scary story plot for your podcast. All right. Moving ahead, you can also turn to television for examples. Now, the 90s Nickelodeon show, Are You Afraid of the Dark? It was a very famous show, and it was frequently praised by television critics for providing genuinely scary stories which were age appropriate for a younger audience. So, you can definitely watch the episodes. Of course, it's off air at the moment, but you can see glimpses of the episodes through many online outlets like Amazon Instant and video, and also you can purchase the DVDs. All right. Okay, so you can go through these also, this television show. All right, guys, I hope that is clear, and I hope I've been able to sort that out for you, that how do you go ahead and actually start your writing for a scary story, because you're the one who's going to go and record that podcast, so you need to have a scary story in place, and that's when you'll be able to go and record it, right? All right. So that is done, and we are here with the fun activity. Yes, guys, it's time for the fun activity now. So let us see, what do we have? Okay. So riddles, riddles, and more riddles. Okay. The first riddle here is a rooster sitting on top of a barn. If it laid an egg, which way would it roll? So come on, tell me. Which way would it roll? Okay, it's a rooster sitting on top of a barn, and if it laid an egg, which way would it roll? So I'm getting the think question marks today. Okay, question marks, all right. And I'm getting front, I'm getting back, I'm getting sideways, I'm getting all directions basically. Think of it, guys. Think of it. Okay, think harder. Okay, all right, all right, all right. So I've got two correct answers as of now. So let me see. Let me see if a few of you can also solve it. I'll just give you a second for that and then I'll move ahead. Okay, okay, all right. And the correct answer, guys, is roosters don't lay eggs. Yes. Did you see that? I got two correct answers in the chat box today. So it's a rooster sitting on top of a barn, and the answer is that roosters don't lay eggs, all right? Okay. Moving to the next riddle. What is so fragile that saying its name is gonna break it? So something that's really fragile that just you say the name and it breaks. So anything, guys. Okay, and everybody's typing in. I have not received any answers as of now. All right, and I'm getting glass there. Glass. Okay. Glass, glass, glass. A lot of glasses are there. All right. Egg is there. Okay. Optical instruments like glasses are also there. The other glass. All right. Cups are there. Okay. So let me see the correct answer, guys. The correct answer here is silence. Yes, I'll go back to the riddle one more time. Okay. What is so fragile that saying its name actually breaks it? It is silence, guys. All right. Okay. And I think nobody got that right, in fact. All right. Okay. That's astonishing. Okay. All right. So maybe you'll have to think a little harder for this riddle. All of you. Okay. So we have like a few more left. So try your best. Give it your best shot, everyone. Think. Your thinking cap should be on. Now, what has a bed but never sleeps? Okay. Can run but never walks. And has a bank but no money. So, what has a bed but never sleeps? Can run but never walks. And has a bank but no money. All right. Okay. So, the first one that I'm getting is owl. Okay. Giraffes. I know these animals don't sleep, guys, but have you seen? It can run but never walks. Okay, has a bank but no money. There's more to the riddle now, more than the animals. I'm giving that hint to all of you, but I'm still getting dolphins. I'm getting okay, dolphins. I'm getting whales, and I've got one, two, three, four. I've got six correct answers as of now. So I'm waiting for a little more. Let's see. Good, good. You guys are thinking now. I'm glad. The thinking cap always helps. Yeah. Okay, a river, guys. The answer is a river. That is the correct answer for the riddle. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Let us see. The more you take, the more you leave behind. What are they? So, the more you take, the more you leave behind. What are they? Okay, everybody's thinking money, money, money. Okay. Let me see. I'm not gonna comment whether that's correct or not, but I think you guys have to just think a little harder. Yeah. All right, okay. And I've got a few correct answers. The chocolates are there. Okay, all right, all right. So, money, chocolates, and the correct answer is footsteps, guys. Yes, it is footsteps. Let me just go back to this one. The more you take, the more you leave behind. What are they? Footsteps. Yes. Okay, the next one. Everyone has it and no one can lose it. What is it? So everybody has it, no one can lose it. What is it, guys? Come on, anything, any. So I'm getting thoughts like the brain, the mind. Okay, the brain, the mind. That's more or less the answers, and a few correct answers have already popped up. Good, huh? The thinking is helping. Okay, everybody's thinking on their feet now. Good. So let me give out the right answer. And the right answer is a shadow. Yes, it is a shadow, guys. That is the correct answer. Okay. And thank you, everybody, for thinking so well and for putting forward all your answers. I've had a blast doing these riddles throughout, and it's only because all of you are so active and you guys are actively participating in everything that I'm saying. So thank you, everybody. A thumbs up from my end for all my audiences here. Thank you, and keep those responses coming, guys. Yes. Okay, so we are done with the fun activity, and let's see what do we have ahead. We have seven spookiest horror theme podcasts, and trust me, this is only for the brave hearted guys. Okay, so I'm giving it out. These are spooky horror themed podcasts, and you should go and hear them only if this genre is something that you're interested in, and only if you want to go ahead with a spooky theme podcast. Yes? Okay. So, guys, moving ahead, the connection between horror and podcast definitely dates back to one of humanity's oldest and most universal traditions. Okay, listening to people tell scary stories. If you remember a long time back, you must have heard these stories from your grandparents or from anybody elderly in the family. And there are a lot of people around you who will tell you this and who will vouch for this, that listening to people tell scary stories was always a staple of oral storytelling. Okay, so people were always interested to really hear about scary stories. All right, okay. And just the technological evolution of podcasting has only heightened that connection, that spooky connection, guys. Okay, and so now it's more about podcasting those scary stories. Yes, and what better than actually hearing them on the audio, on the podcast. Yeah, so that's how the connection between these spooky stories and podcasting is. All right. So now the first podcast that we're going to be talking about is about Girls' Tales, the Princes and the musicians of Maple Street, guys. Okay. Now in this particular tale, Blazer, protagonists Kitty, Birdie, and Turtle are preparing for the battle of the bands, and they need a rehearsal space. Okay. What they do is they start practicing in an abandoned mansion, but really soon they realize that the space is haunted. Okay, now things get slightly spooky when Cunningham challenges listeners to make their own spooky voices. And otherwise, it's more or less a gentle tale, okay? And one kid interviewer, Abby, takes the reins and interviews story author Amy Gisbers, okay, about the gratifying tale. So it's a lovely, lovely podcast. You can definitely tune in to this one, okay? All right, moving ahead to the next one. Unspookable episode 24, Kraken. All right, so Unspookable stories basically they center on creepy monsters, mysterious objects, okay, which is the favorite reading topic for kids, and the lore surrounding them in pop culture and global cultural history. Okay, this is what it is centered around. Okay, and some of the best part of the episodes are when the kids sharing actually their thoughts and making it particularly appealing to the young audiences, so you will enjoy it. Okay, and you will of course get a lot of idea of how to go ahead with something spooky and something scary as far as your podcasting theme is concerned, guys. Okay, moving to the third one. Grim, Grimmer, Grimmest, the Glass Coffin. Okay, the title in itself is really catchy and it's a little spooky. Okay, so Adam Gitwith is basically known for the Tale of Dark and Grim series and his Newbery Honor book, The Inquisitor's Tale. Okay, so the author narrates the fairy tale podcast series based on Dark and Grim, basically, which is his master storytelling style. Just translates well to his entire realm. Okay, and the episode is basically a spin-off of a fairy tale, okay, which is like a Rumpelstiltskin like fairy tale. All right, and the genius of this podcast is that it also includes audio clips of actually kids with interacting with classroom kids and listening to them telling the story. So there's a lot of interaction happening in the podcast. There's a lot of things happening around the podcast, and what happens is that the author's asking the kids for the thoughts, and as they also narrate the tale subsequently, so you can get a lot of idea of how to actually make that scary podcast, the thought that you have in your mind, the story that you have in mind, how can you make it more interesting so that you can record it in a certain manner, you can add certain elements to it, and it can appeal to your audiences. All right, so definitely go and check this one out. Moving ahead to the next one, Book Power for Kids, The Whispering Skull. Okay, this podcast squad, they just know how to pick books with real kid appeal. Okay, why is this? So you'd say this podcast in particular is actually picking up such sort of books which really have a very real kid appeal, and that's because then most of them are actually children, guys. Yes, okay, and it consists of stars, kid stars, family members. Okay, and of course the dad is there in the name of Brennan, and the character voices in their book reviews, and they add high spirited merriments for listeners. So it's a fun, and a spooky podcast, Book Power for Kids, The Whispering Skull. Moving ahead to the next one, Lore episode 143, Inside Information. Okay, now this award winning lore has been around for many years, and it's basically won plenty of recognition from the media. There's been a lot of recognition from the end of the media, and this particular episode 143, Inside Information, is about true life scary stories. Okay, so like we mentioned that you can take up something from the true life also. It basically focuses on ghost stories from folklore, which has been quite a hit with a lot of people, and that's the reason that probably this is done so well. Okay, and the inspiration behind the literary characters such as Charles Dickens, Ebenezer Scrooge, and Homer's Odysseys. Okay, so Aaron, host of the well-researched nonfiction podcast, knows how to select fascinating stories. He's very good with just selecting the correct amount, the correct kind of fascinating stories, and which will keep the audiences hooked. Basically, excellent listening for fans of history. Okay, it's for everybody who loves history, with of course a twist of spookiness in there, all right, and especially definitely for those who are again drawn to these evergreen ominous tales, all right. So you, for all those guys who love history and who love the spooky twist therein, and who like these evergreen ominous tales, you can definitely go and check this out. All right. Moving ahead to the next one, Mabel episode 1, The Letters. Okay. So now, if guys, you're looking for a unique, eclectic take on how to tell scary stories, this is really helpful. Okay. Because this will really give you a lot of direction as to how to go ahead and actually say scary stories in a podcast. Okay. Now, what happens in the introductory episode, as far as this podcast is concerned, it's like a one-way conversation between a healthcare worker leaving messages on the voicemail of a client's granddaughter. All right. And gradually, what happens is that tension builds as the worker divulges more and more about her situation and why she is not sure where to turn. So it's a very interesting turn of events that you will get to hear once you tune into this podcast. And of course, because all of you are in the process of framing these scary stories for your podcast, it's going to come very handy if if you listen to something similar, so you get an idea of how to present it and move forward in that genre of scary stories for your podcast. All right, moving on to the next one, it is Snap Judgment presents Spooked Sharp Tooth Boy. Okay, and Snap Judgment podcast host Glenn Washington, this serves up another successful podcast which features true life supernatural stories told firsthand by people who can barely believe it happened themselves. Okay, so the unbelievable stories, scary stories. Okay, Washington basically sets the mood for each story in intriguing ways. It really engages the audiences, okay, a lot of interesting ways. And these intimate tales brim with interesting personal details, guys, that make them feel very close to home. So you can relate to a lot of these tales, okay? Obviously, you feel like it's not real, but it's still a lot relatable, okay? Now, in this particular episode that I've mentioned, it is about a ghost boy. It's the ghost boy has long bloody teeth. Okay, the suspenseful storytelling, unexpected twist. Okay, that it happens during the course of this episode. It just keeps you wondering what's going to happen next, and that's what should be the aim of a podcast, which falls under the mystery theme. Okay, which falls under the suspense theme. And when you're trying to create a spooky, a scary podcast, okay, it has to keep your audience is wondering, okay, what's going to happen next. They have to look forward, they have to be thinking about what is going to happen next, what's in store next. All right, you have to leave them with that thought. And of course, the story that you're narrating, or when you're saying it on a podcast, of course it has to have a lot of unexpected twists and turns to it. It's only then that it's going to become an effective podcast. It's going to appeal to your audiences, right? Okay, so can I hear it for all the scary and the spooky stories in the chat box right away, guys? Come on, quickly. I need to hear from all of you. All right. And it's like the scary sign, the eyes closed sign, the thumbs up sign. Okay. And I'm getting high fives. I'm getting the fire emoji. I'm getting the thumbs up again. Wow, lovely. So I think everybody enjoys the genre here. And now it's time to go ahead and do a little bit of research as far as this genre is concerned, as far as your podcasting is concerned, under the scary and the spooky theme, guys. Okay. So now I think I've spoken enough for today. I've given you a lot of things. So let's do a quick recap. We started with, just trying to develop on a scary story, and we spoke about, you know, the horror theme podcast for all kids, okay? And which you can definitely tune in for, because these are, again, I mentioned these are kids appropriate. So for sure, you can tune in for into these podcasts, and you can get an idea as to how you want to go ahead with your own spooky theme podcast. Yes, the supernatural and the paranormal theme podcast, guys. That's what we've covered in today's episode. The homework for each one of you is that please visit the podcast that we spoke about today in today's class, and get a better picture of how these podcasts, the horror theme podcast, the paranormal podcast, how do these podcasts actually work? Yeah. All right. And before I end the session for today, of course, getting to know what's next, guys. What's next? So it's Halloween podcast. Yes, we are doing the mystery theme, guys, and we are, coming out with a lot of different topics. Definitely, we done with supernatural and paranormal today, and our next is the Halloween podcast. And I can see the smileys pop up on my screen as soon as you've seen this. I know that it's going to be an interesting episode, and you're going to have a blast, guys. Okay. So till then, keep researching, keep thinking, and keep educating that beautiful mind of yours. Take care, guys. I'll see you in my next session. Bye bye.